If a random stranger ever approaches you on the street and tries to give you money, please run away. Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be playing Our Life, which is a visual novel where you grow up with your best friend. Exciting! Summer in Sunset Bird was a peaceful time of year. The usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination, with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of school-less vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Okay. You didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you nodded back at them anyway. It was the polite thing to do after all, and your moms had taught you to always be respectful. But today, there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was really even a real person, or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your moms had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. You weren't sure about this man yet. You still felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door. You slowed down, your mind racing for ideas on how to get past him unseen. But it was too late to escape. There was a split second where your eyes met, and you took in a shaky breath, your eyes darting to the sky, pretending to stare at a bird who was hovering nearby. Hey. His voice startled you and made you jump. But still, you didn't look at him. The bird landed on top of a nearby gatepost, and its black feathers ruffled against the gentle breeze. Trying to keep your eyes on it was tough, especially when the man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. The man gives a grin of his own back. Yeah, I don't like this. Oh, he's hot. Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked the man up and down, taking in his tanned skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts, and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was really obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you, expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. Yeah, I live here. That's great. He looked happy to hear it, giving you a broad smile. If a random stranger ever approaches you on the street and tries to give you money, please run away. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It looked crinkled in his hand as he held it to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Mom? Well, could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have... Let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. Cove. That seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you. But definitely the kind of name someone like this guy would give their kid. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting it off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Taiga, right? I met your moms earlier. They told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance, and you can keep this. He's a good kid, you'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you gotta keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say that his dad sent you. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? Had your moms done that for you and Lizzie? The thought made you frown. What do you say? Want to make a deal? I mean, he's offering. You took the bill. You carefully plucked the bill from his outstretched hand, grinning at the thought of what you could do with it. You weren't even sure yet. The sky was the limit with that kind of amount. The man smiled at you, his eyes crinkling at the sides as he did. That's great. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but... Well, I don't know where he's gotten off to. He laughed when he said that. But with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. I can try. You nodded, not totally certain that you'd find Cove, but willing to look. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, paused before doing so, and then pulled his hand away instead. Your moms are already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Now I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. Yeah, go look for your fucking son. I thought he might come back and... That's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again, Taiga, so much. No problem. He jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. Step 1. First sight. The chirping of the crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill, you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore, and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. You didn't enjoy the beach all that much, especially the sand, which got absolutely everywhere. You really couldn't understand why so many people came all the way from where they really lived just to visit the ocean. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try and relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you you weren't alone, so you glanced around. Is that Cove? He's got really interesting facial features. Eyebrow. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried into his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have wavy eyebrows. But this new boy did. You weren't sure what else in the world had eyebrows like that, if there was anything. I love how we're just like bullying this child, and he's clearly going through it. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, and then another. And then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Are you lost? With a start, he jumped up to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of his tears on his cheeks and knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man earlier had said stuck out to you. Cove? His eyes wide, he studied you. How'd you know that? You touched the money in your pocket, feeling it crinkle beneath your fingertips. I met your dad. Oh. Is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, still, this isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with an odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered the hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stop, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. They don't want to live together with me anymore. Aw, poor baby. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. Stop crying. Hey, Cove, I know you're depressed, but, like, stop crying. You're kind of ruining my vibe. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. Sunset Bird was a nice place to live. It had a beach, playgrounds, a good school. At least you thought so. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Taiga. Cove. Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. It'll be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not gonna be all fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really need him. You shot a grin and pushed yourself up to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked towards the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm. Sorry, I still don't want to go. You tried to convince him. Are you sure? You'd have to stay outside the whole night and sleep on wet grass. Before Cove could say anything else, you heard his dad's voice again, even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all of their eyes landed on you, and they rushed over. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Moms are hot. This my mama? These my mamas? Okay. Taiga, you're here after all. We'd been at the park to check for Cove, and then we heard what happened earlier. When you met with the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. No, we were just sitting in the grass. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? He looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You shrugged. He's new here. It was okay. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Taiga knows this whole area so well. Absolutely, we should get home now. It's been a long day for all of us. Say goodbye, Cove. Cove looks like he's suffering.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading towards the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what? We'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? It sounds like words. Both of your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Which one is Mommy? Satisfied, and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings for Cove.